This week on The Facts, 20 years after the Donald Marshall inquiry, Dalhousie's Law School remembers.
As efforts to help Haiti continue, some locals are getting creative with fundraising.
And fans of gory horror movies have a reason to scream. Thrillima returns.
Welcome to The Facts. This week we're bringing you your Halifax local news from Just Us Cafe on Spring Garden Road. I'm Wallis Snowdon.
And I'm Lucy Scholey.
There's a new scholarship at Dalhousie's Law School, and it's in memory of Donald Marshall Jr. Its announcement was one of several events to mark the 20th anniversary of a landmark report that changed the face of Nova Scotia's justice system. Lucy has more on the story.
At this party, they're marking the 20th anniversary of a program that helps Nova Scotia Blacks and Mi'kmaq get into law school. One guest is a recent grad. He's behind the new scholarship named after Donald Marshall Jr.
I felt that, and many obviously do, that it is important to recognize who was the person responsible behind those changes. And it does, again, go back to Donald Marshall Jr.
Marshall became famous against his will. In 1971, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up in jail for 11 years, convicted for a murder he didn't commit. The Royal Commission report on Marshall's inquiry fills 7 volumes. One of the many findings was that racism played a role in Marshall's conviction and in the justice system as a whole. The Indigenous Blacks in Mi'kmaq initiative came out of the Marshall case. It's a pre-law program that helps people like Gugu get into law school.
I passed the program, and it was by admissions and by successfully passing the program. It admitted me into the law school.
But in reality, what have we done in terms of our communities?
One of the program's first students says there are still problems for Nova Scotia Blacks and Aboriginals, but he says it's important to honor Marshall since he died last summer.
There are many different important things about Donald Marshall Jr. That are embodied in this award that we should remember. You know, the fact that we should stand up for our rights.
Last weekend, a panel discussion reflected on Marshall and the changes that came out of the report.
Well, I think it changed in a lot of ways. There at the time was a much higher profile of the problems. It led to some pretty significant changes in the justice system. But as we heard in the discussions today, certainly not all of the recommendations have been followed and not all the problems have been solved.
For Gugu, the new scholarship reflects a positive attitude in race relations. It'll be open to any law student at Dal. For The Facts, I'm Lucy Scholey. We've all seen plenty of images from the disaster in Haiti. The country is in turmoil with as many as 200,000 dead and countless others injured. Wallis has more on that.
I spoke with Bernie Zebarth from New Brunswick. He arrived in Santo Domingo only hours before the earth started to shake.
And so I was scrambling to get my shoes on because the mirror on the wall had fallen off. There was broken glass on the floor. I thought, okay, I better get my shoes on here. And then there was a small pause, and then the real quake hit. And it was quite something. So the glass shelves in the bathroom fell on the floor. All the TV went flipping off the table. All the lights were on the floor. Like it just shook like crazy. And I just scrambled up, once I had my shoes on, scrambled up to the door frame, and then basically it was over. So very fast. Like the things we saw and heard. So with the earthquake, there was this almost like a roaring noise, and then we just heard voices, all kinds of voices, and it was a combination. It wasn't so much voices right with us, but more from the distance. It was like you heard this chorus of voices coming out of the city, and I think most of them it was like shock and pain and hurt, and then you heard some other voices closer, like people who were praising God for being saved. So just the sound, you just start to put the pieces together in your mind.
If you would like to help victims of the disaster or learn more, visit worldvision.ca.
And closer to home, efforts continue to raise money for Haiti. At the University of King's College, students and singers had one more reason to show up for open mic night. Arianne Guerin reports.
Thank you so much. We're here tonight at the Wardroom because we have a fundraiser going for Haiti, and all the proceeds are going to the Red Cross relief effort.
When we heard that it was for that, it gave us added incentive to, if we weren't going to play before, we're definitely going to play now. And just what's going on over there is ridiculous. It's tragic.
I've never actually been to the Wardroom before. This is my first time here since I started in the fall, but I thought this would be the perfect night to come out.
We've heard of Haiti benefit concerts, and we've seen donation boxes all over town. But one local craft store has taken a more colorful approach. The Loop asked people to donate yarn balls. They put hundreds up for sale on the weekend and pulled in over $2,000 in 2 days. Some local designers donated specialty yarn. Others brought in leftover wool.
And it was a really great way to get our customers involved in the process beyond just buying, bringing stuff in from their stashes, and then also being able to get new stuff. And there's sort of there's sort of a voyeuristic quality to it too, right? Because you get to see what other people brought in, and it was really fun.
Making a living is tough for Nova Scotia beef farmers. When you eat a local hamburger, the province makes more money off the tax than the farmer does from the beef. Well, last week, the government announced a new program that's supposed to help farmers. Sarah Plowman reports.
Leroy Little always wanted to be a farmer. When he retired 10 years ago, that's exactly what he did. But right now, it's a bad time to be a beef farmer in Nova Scotia.
We lose money on every pound of beef that we sell.
Farmers like Little face a lot of challenges. A high Canadian dollar, competition from Western Canada, and tighter regulations left by the mad cow disease 7 years ago. Last week, the government announced a new program. Over the next 3 years, it's going to give $2 million to pay off the interest on beef farmers' loans. Premier Darrell Dexter says the program will help the beef industry, but for farmers like Little, who are debt-free, they won't benefit at all.
That program was one that came about as a result of consultations with the beef industry.
Nova Scotia's Cattlemen's Association says the program won't help everyone, and it won't save the beef industry, but they think it shows a commitment from the government. For Little, that's not good enough.
Pay the interest on loans? For what? I mean, is it a loan, as I said, a loan on a pickup truck, a loan on a shed? Give us the money to put into the feed, which is probably more important for the animals.
You're never going to get a program that's going to satisfy everyone.
5 years ago, there were 1,400 cattle farmers in Nova Scotia. Today, there are only 1,000.
I don't see where there's any hope in the market here.
And Little says it's sad to see a way of life disappearing in Nova Scotia. For the facts, I'm Sarah Plowman.
Mike Danton is making a comeback in hockey and in life. Until September, the former NHL player was in prison for trying to hire a hitman. Now at 29 years old, Danton is a first-year student at St. Mary's University. He's also playing on their hockey team. In a press conference this week, Danton talked about why he thinks he deserves a second chance.
I think we've all made mistakes, including yourself, including everybody in this room, The severity of those mistakes is what differs. But when it comes down to it, I think that everybody deserves a second chance. I already got 3 strikes, so I could look at it from a selfish standpoint and say, if I screw this up, there's absolutely nothing else for me.
If you want to see more of the Danton press conference, you can check it out at thefacts.wordpress.com.
Coming up on The Facts, sometimes the easiest person to tell your secrets to is a complete stranger.
Welcome back to The Facts, coming to you from Just Us Cafe. prorogation is a word Canadians have heard a lot of lately. When the Conservatives shut down Parliament to work on the budget and watch the Olympics, they got a lot of people angry. Reporter Eric Leclerc caught the reactions of Haligonians who gathered to protest on Saturday.
Our land, glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard.
When you adjourn a session, and when you return, you just take up where you left off. When you prorogue, you don't take up where you left off. You're supposed to have finished that session, and then you start anew. You know, he said it had to do with a need for recalibration, something about preparing a budget, consulting with Canadians, Senate appointments, thinking about those. None of these things require prorogation. Governments continue to do all of these things while Parliament is in session.
What do we want? Democracy. When do we want it? Now.
This is obviously something to listen to. We're part of a group where you like sort of Google groups, Facebook groups, and things like that, trying to organize ourselves, have a consistent message, that sort of thing across the country.
I do think that with the Olympics, they just prefer to have a clear field and, you know, not be sustaining critical attack while, you know, guests are arriving.
It's just, that's a really dangerous precedent that whenever, you know, opposition gets too harsh or criticism gets too much for the government, even if they have a minority, they can just close down the House. So I just think it's unacceptable.
Tune in to The Radio Room, presented in conjunction with the journalism program at the University of King's College. Tune in Wednesdays at 5 o'clock and Fridays at 5:30 on CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax.
Some people tell their closest secrets to their friends. Others send them to a complete stranger to publish on a website. Fans of Post Secret fill the Rebecca Cone to hear Frank Warren talk about some of the secrets he's received. Julia Cook went to the event and spoke with ADSM for Women and Children about bringing Warren to Halifax.
I never knew what staying for the children meant until
I miss him, even though I know he'd eventually kill me.
I want to change the world, but some people think I'm too small.
Happily ever after, it deserved.
It doesn't matter who you are, everyone has secrets. Post Secret is a blog that's led to 3 books. People send in anonymous postcards that are published on the site. And in Halifax, people fill the Rebecca Cone to hear the stories behind the secrets from founder Frank Warren.
So I think it's great that there's a place where everyone can go anonymously and say their biggest secrets and not have anyone judge them on who is actually saying it.
It's just like a feeling of belonging, I guess. It's like a cult.
A lot of the secrets that I see are felt in isolation, but I don't think that should be.
The event was put on by ADSM for Women and Children. The website may seem like it doesn't connect with the shelter, but ADSM's director of fundraising says the secrets she reads on Post Secret are similar to the ones she hears at the shelter.
The women that we serve are not necessarily those that you would expect. Sometimes they are women who struggle with substance abuse, mental illness, etc., but oftentimes they're not. So the reality is their face to the world is not necessarily their inner world.
I make everyone believe that I like to be different.
I finally discovered that my greatest fear is not being alone.
Man is the father. He pays me a lot.
My heart twice. No matter what you say, it's not happening again.
Helmke says the event was more of a fundraiser than for profit. She hopes it makes people more aware of the work of her organization, as well as the need to have a safe place to tell your secrets in the community and on the web.
It just makes you feel, how do I say? It makes you realize that we all, as humans, have a lot in common when you wouldn't necessarily think it.
For The Facts, I'm Julia Cook.
Breaking into the music industry is a difficult and costly process, but as Simon Tebow reports, one local musician may have found a way to not only fund his project, but get the attention he needs to make it big.
Ryan McGrath is getting ready to record his first full-length album. Something that's a lengthy and costly process. But he thinks he may have figured a different way to raise the money to do so.
I was brainstorming with my manager a couple of weeks ago, trying to come up with fundraising ideas because I'm trying to make a new album. Yeah, the thought just kind of popped into my mind, like, well, let's do sort of an auction. I'll write a song for someone and people can bid on it.
So McGrath set up an auction called Press Play for Love on his website. His manager says that this is a perfect fit for Ryan.
I think anytime any artist, whether it be musician or otherwise, should be thinking out of the box. And I think if they feel like they can do it, it's a great idea. You have to be really innovative in this day and age to try to get people interested in what you're doing.
It's doing well. I mean, we started the bidding at $50 in $10 increments, and it's up in the hundreds now, so.
But recording an album is expensive.
Yeah, there's so many aspects about making an album that people don't realize a lot of the time. You know, when they hear a song on the radio and everything sounds pretty and nice, and they kind of think, oh, a bunch of friends just got together, musicians, pressed record, and it happened, and that's it. They captured the magic. But it doesn't work that way at all. I mean, sometimes maybe it does, but not in my reality yet.
This auction won't be enough to help pay for the entire recording. He expects it to cost a few $1,000s. McGrath saved some money from his former job as a server. He's hoping that this auction will not only help him in raising money for the album, but also help raise his profile. For The Facts, I'm Simon Thibault.
It isn't cheap to produce media art, but a scholarship program at the Centre for Art Tapes helps emerging artists create and screen works of their own. Kim Hutchison reports.
The Neptune Studio Theatre on Argyle Street was busy on Saturday. Family, friends, and fans of 10 Halifax media artists were there to see their work for the first time, work that was created in the Centre for Art Tapes Scholarship Program.
The scholarship program is a program, actually this is our 21st year, and it's a program for artists to create the first media art piece. And so media art could be thinking about animation or video or sound art, so it's really wide. It could be web-based art, and so they have the opportunity to create the first media art piece, and they have training and mentorship throughout the program. It's about 6 months in length, the program.
Filmmaker Tom Fitzgerald took the program in the past. Krista Davis just finished it. She graduated from NASCAD with a media arts degree in 2005. She works at the music venue The Company House and says working with professional equipment and mentors again was something she missed.
It gave me a group of people to work with and work through ideas with, and that was really important because I haven't had that since I graduated NASCAD, so it was really nice.
Her hard work has paid off as a packed house watched Letters to Sugar Prince, a 10-minute piece inspired by an old crush on a musician.
Let's meet again now. I know you already stand.
Davis is now starting a music animation project in collaboration with local musicians. It's expected to be finished in a year, but if you can't wait until then to see more, check out an extended clip from Letters to Sugar Prince at thefacts.wordpress.com. For The Facts, I'm Kim Hutchison.
Coming up, Thrillima returns to Halifax.
We're back with The Facts, coming to you this week from Just Us Cafe. Reading the 24 books of the Odyssey usually takes a couple of weeks. Well, Halifax Humanities 101 decided to speed up the process. Last Friday, they held a fundraiser called Odyssey Live. They read all 24 books of the Odyssey in 24 hours. Halifax Humanities 101 had different groups reenact each of the books from the ancient Greek classic. Some of the readers included teachers, university presidents, and the Premier of Nova Scotia.
It very much is about the value of the liberal arts. If we want people to be independent and clear thinkers, they need to be exposed to the very best thinkers and writers of our heritage. That is how people learn to think.
Each group got pledges from around the community. Odyssey Live raised more than $12,000 for Halifax Humanities 101.
There are plenty of ways to learn a new skill. This week, we took a look at some of the educational events happening around Halifax. Many of us speak with our friends over Facebook and Twitter. Well, a group of people got together face-to-face to talk about these social networks last weekend. It was the second annual PodCamp conference, and this year it was booked solid. About 300 people reserved seats for a day of workshops about how to use and manage social media. The event's organizer said he's pleased with the turnout, and it's a sign that more people are logging on to social networks.
I think last year, there was less, I think traditional media was less interested in what we were doing. It was kind of more a underground thing a little bit, just the people on Twitter. And shortly after that, I think people started to pay attention to Twitter, and now certainly we see a lot of the traditional media on Twitter.
There's a new school in town, and being a class clown is considered a plus. Wallis learned how the circus is turning into a classroom.
So you're gonna go toe and feel where the tightrope is before you push.
Nellie Keating teaches a pretty unusual skill. She's a teacher and manager with Halifax Circus.
I really like the people that it attracts because everybody who comes here is really excited about trying new things.
The company has been touring the province for 3 years, teaching at-risk youth how to perform stunts like this one. The school started as part of a Cirque du Soleil outreach program, teaching at-risk youth how to perform and improving their confidence in the process.
Kids will make this progress, and it starts to change their perception of themselves.
Mike Hirschbach has seen it happen. He's the Cirque du Soleil vet behind the school. He says the time is right to expand.
So what we had was a wonderful space. We had great teachers. We have a wide variety of equipment. And so recently, we decided that we would open this up to the general public as well.
Hirschbach says circus work is always a challenge, but everybody can find something they enjoy.
People will absolutely find two things that they don't like to do at all. They'll say, I don't have any feel for this at all. I just get frustrated when I do this. But I always say, if you don't enjoy this, put it aside and try something else. It's a guarantee that they're going to find something that talks to them.
Keating says anyone can step into the ring.
That when you're being taught circus work, it really isn't too hard. Everybody can do it.
Classes are now open to the public. Hirschbach says the response so far has been good. For The Facts, I'm Wallis Snowdon. Last Thursday night, there was an explosion of blood and gore at a cinema in Dartmouth, and the audience loved it. Reporter Simon Thibault spoke with a thrill-seeking bunch of movie fans.
It's a Thursday night in Dartmouth, and this crowd of movie fanatics is getting ready to experience a thrill.
It's just a really fun experience because everyone gets really into the movie and like cheers for the good parts.
Scary scenes are scarier, funny scenes are way funnier when you're just surrounded by maniacs like this.
And these are the maniacs responsible. Jason Eisner and Jason Shipley are two local filmmakers who love movies and want to share their love.
I love going to movies, and you feel the energy off the crowd and people just getting really excited about seeing these old films.
Do me a favor. Look at this with me.
And so the Thrillema was born. Movie fans packed the house for screenings of everything from John Carpenter's Halloween to RoboCop. But last April, the theater where Eisner was hosting the nights closed down. The Thrillema went on hiatus. That is, until Jason Shipley showed up with his own movie called Bloodshed.
If a movie like Bloodshed is going to play in Halifax, there's only one place that it should play, and it's at the Thrillema.
And so the Thrillema rose from the dead.
I'll just say, like, roll that reel or something.
There's a lot of people that came out here tonight. You know, everybody's excited for the Thrillema, right? It's back. You see all of this crowd that's turned out.
you come to one of these events and you see the energy that's in the room, it's amazing. People go crazy when they're at these screenings.
If Eisner and his friends have anything to do with it, the insanity will continue well into the new year. For The Facts, I'm Simon Thibault.
To learn more about these and other stories we covered this week, check out thefacts.wordpress.com.
That's all we have time for this week, but be sure to check us out next Thursday at 7:30 on Eastlink TV, Channel 10.
Thanks for watching and have a great week.